Since this should be coming out on Sunday, for all you who it applies, happy Father's Day. I hope you're having a great day and enjoying time with your family. So today's video is a little bit more about FSD. So I do have full self-driving capability. My software level, general software level, is version 11.1 or 223.12.11 followed by a bunch of numbers. Full self-driving beta software is version 11.3.6. Now, from what I've heard, 11.3.6 is the generally available FSD. So you'll hear people talking about 11.4.3, 11.4.4, things like that. That is not generally available. 11.3.6 is the generally available FSD. So when Elon says, oh yeah, you're going to get it at the end of the week, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Okay, nobody talks about navigation data that I've heard anyway, but my navigation data is NA-2022.44-14515, and my software update preference is in advanced mode. Okay, so my full self-driving beta profile is set to chill. After I got the last update, and it was information sharing update, it switched to average. I'm not sure why, so I switched that back to chill. My lane change notification is a chime, but you can see the turn signals coming on when it comes time to go. What am I looking for? My forward collision warning is early. We could argue about whether or not it should be like medium or even off, maybe, I'm not sure. But I like early, although I was pulling up to a traffic light. My foot was already off the accelerator. I think it was even on the brake ever so slightly. Now I'm rolling up to a pickup truck in front of me. Grandpa, this car turns the truck in front of me red on the display and sounds the alarm. Now, I'm already slowing down. I'm already demonstrating I'm aware of it, and he still sounds the alarm. But anyway, I'm still going to leave it early, even though that seems to be a problem, so to speak. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so let's take a list of the good things. I'm going to try to break this out one by one, but let's see how it goes. I find that starting FSD, the startup is very easy to do. I mean, if you're starting from a stop. Now, sometimes when you're driving out on the road, it's hard to invoke, but if you're at a stop, usually the autopilot wheel's on and you can start it. Where I have noticed this, I mean, I don't have a whole lot around me out here in Lago Vista, but it's really doing a good job of recognizing pedestrians, bicyclists, animals, and we have a lot of deer, and cars. Along with cars goes golf carts in this area, in this city, town, whatever, and they show up as cars. Okay, so one of the features that FSD has is stop sign and traffic light control. So even on TAC, it will stop for the stop signs. It draws a red line where you're supposed to stop. And once you have stopped, I mean, you're still responsible for looking. You press on the accelerator and the car goes. That's on TAC. So that's really cool. I love that. Traffic lights. It does a great job of recognizing traffic lights. So if it's turning red, it'll stop and it'll hold. When it turns green, it goes. Now, of course, if there's a car coming through the intersection, I haven't seen that, but I assume that the car will wait for that car to go through. Anyway, there you go. when I pull out onto the street in front of my house, the autopilot wheel on my display shows up and the car draws the lines of the street. Now, you could argue, well, but nobody knows the lines because the street's all torn up for sewage work and stuff like that. But anyway, it's kind of cool that it is there. Okay, so sometimes FSD doesn't do a good job of getting over to past vehicles. So if you turn on your turn signal, your left turn signal, it'll go left, get in the other lane, and as long as it's under its max speed, it'll speed up to max speed to pass a vehicle. That's pretty cool. And if I want to go into the right lane, I can signal right, and they'll switch back to the outside lane. That's helpful. While running FSD, the car will signal past slower traffic, and then this one's a little bit more hard, and then come back to the lane you started from. Now it tends to like going to the inside lane, so not always. And I haven't done it a whole lot, but it's there. I've done it. Okay, so now for some not so great things. Okay, I've already mentioned it somewhere else, but to me, chill mode on FSD is not very chill. It's actually somewhat aggressive. Now, maybe on the average side of aggressive, you might even say on the aggressive side of average, but it's not chill. Your need to go to the inside lane is not a chill thing to be doing. But anyway. Okay, now speaking of being in chill mode and all that stuff, so I've had where the car is on the highway and it insists on going to the inside lane, and I'm stopping it just before it does it. But the reason why I'm stopping it is because there's a car there. Holy cow. You gotta do a better job recognizing vehicles around you. So there's something called phantom braking. In my Model Y with autopilot, yes, it'll occasionally phantom brake, at least what I think of as phantom brake, where something changes on the road surface and the car thinks that it's going to run into something, so it brakes or slows down. Now, I mean, the one time was on the I-10 where there was in West Texas, where there was a section of road was patched with some red asphalt as opposed to black. So I'm sure to the car it looked weird. In cresting hills, it would do it occasionally, or shade on the road, stuff like that. Now, with my Model 3 with FSD, on my trip down to Corpus, a couple of times, just as it finishes passing a semi, it suddenly slows down. I don't know. It just, and you know, when you're around semis, there's people who are lining up to get around that semi, waiting for you to move out of the way. So that's not a good combination of things. Now, does it happen often? No, not really. It's just once in a while. Okay, this problem is kind of comes and goes, and I don't really understand what the differences are. Okay, so maybe no place else in the United States, and especially not in California, do they use flashing yellows to indicate you're coming up on an intersection where you should have some caution. Okay, in Texas, we treat this as, look, but don't really slow down. Maybe a little bit, but not much. Okay. What FSD does, so there is a particular one out on FM 1431 between Lago Vista and Cedar Park. And this is a particularly bad intersection. People have serious accidents fairly often, actually, there. It is a very dangerous intersection. And I don't understand the people who are pulling up on that road, Reed Parks Road, I think it is, on the west side, why you'd want to turn left out of there with as much traffic as flowing down 1431 now. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, I get that's a dangerous intersection. The maddening part is FSD will pop up with this message saying, stopping for a traffic signal. That's a flashing yellow. The other guys have a flashing red and a stop sign. So they have to stop. Right? I mean, it's just required. Anyway, the maddening part is the car right there in the middle of the highway is going to come to a stop after you're just coming down a hill. So the cars flying up behind you who are on the other side of the hill aren't going to see you until they crest that hill and are looking down at you and go like, what's going on here? And then they have to slam on their brakes. You're on your way to becoming a statistic. This is not safer. Anyway, it's just one of those things. I'm sure once you figure out how to program it, it'll be fine. Okay, as great as autopilot, the autopilot wheel display outside of my house on a torn up road is, when you get out on a road that's, let's just call it less traveled, say FM 1431. Now, from my viewpoint, there's at least 10 Teslas out here in Lago Vista. It has to be at least that many, from what I've seen. I haven't been counting, but there's actually a fair number. You would think with all those Teslas going by, and almost every time, if I'm running FSD, I'll interrupt FSD so I can report it's a yellow light. It's not a traffic light. Okay, whatever. It's just one of those, there's a bunch of stuff. Like I said, I'm on the GA version of FSD, so I'm not on the leading edge. Maybe if I came closer to the leading edge, maybe it'd be better. I don't know. But over time, it's just programming when they get to it. So I've had a few situations where the car is navigating towards a lane divider, and as in a curb or other obstruction that a car would run into, not just paying lines. The car, for some reason, is not properly recognizing it, not properly going to the right of it. But it's not going left either. It's going straight towards it. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's part of city streets, which is not here yet, but you have to recognize there's stuff on the road. So one of the things you could probably live with, to me, it just bugs me. All right, so I'm on a highway, 4-lane highway, 2 lanes going one direction. I'm really the only person in either direction for, let's say, a third of a mile. There's some other cars half a mile away, but they're nowhere near me. So the FSD has been programmed to say it wants to be in the inside lane. Okay, so I should set some parameters on this, since I'm conserving energy, so to speak. The speed limit is 75. I'm doing 70 or 71 by how you look at it. So my max speed is 71. The car is doing 71, and the car will still say, or FSD will still say, it needs to move to the inside lane to go faster. It's already going the max speed as set by the max speed, set basically by me. I don't know why it needs to go to the inside lane. It's obviously something somebody somewhere programmed in, and it's just frustrating. Now, the good news is, as soon as you recognize that that's what it's doing, press the turn signal right, and the car will cancel out. So it's just that, the people behind you are going like, what's going on with that guy? He turns on his left turn signal, then he turns on his right turn signal, then they go off for a while, Then after a while, the left turn signal comes back on. Right? I mean, that's... And I had a few people, when they saw that left turn signal coming on, and they're coming up to pass me. Remember, I'm in a 75 zone. Most people who are not worried about energy are doing at least 80. So they come up fairly quick. And the car doesn't see them. I don't know why. I mean, it does see it when it's close enough, but if the car's a tenth of a mile away, it won't see it. And he's wanting to go into the left lane. Sorry, this is turning a little bit around. I didn't mean to rant about it. It's just one of those frustrating features. I'm in chill mode. I want to be chill. Anyway, peace and harmony. Maybe someday when they get around to this part, they'll allow people to actually chill in the outside lane, as opposed to being California gangbuster left lane or inside lane speed demon. And to be fair to Tesla, a lot of the guys I see on YouTube, they sound a bit aggressive, maybe average. I haven't heard anybody that's like me that just wants to chill. But anyway, peace and harmony. Okay, this one, it's confusing to me. I don't get it. It's apparently a recent development, and the people I've heard complain about it are on 11.4 or something, as opposed to my 11.3.6. But anyway, for some reason, sometimes when the car sees a lane open up on the right side, it will go into it. And so Joe Tegmeyer has a little test he has where the first introduction to this is you're crossing over an overpass, and the road coming up from below goes out for an extended ways, with about a tenth of a mile or so. It's going to end in a must turn right, and the line will turn solid white. So once you commit to it, you're committed to it. Okay. So and I did this part of Joe's loop. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it did it. And the one time it actually started turning right, and then suddenly said, "Oh wait, what am I doing?" Despite the fact the navigation has you going straight. Okay. The other place that creates a problem is you're going by, I guess it's a business, and they open up you just taken an exit off the highway, and you come by this section of road where a lane opens up to turn right only. Now, you are going to make a right a little bit further down onto another highway, but not yet. And so I had the car actually turn right onto this road. I'm sorry, actually it turns right onto another road. And if you follow that road, you can actually go through and connect back up to the highway you're going to. It's just not what navigation said. Anyway, peace and harmony. It's happened to me several times. It's just, this part's maddening. Not very robo-taxi-like at all. Okay, as nuts as this sounds, I recently did a 30 mile per hour range challenge in Lago Vista. Some of the curves in Lago Vista throw FSD or actually there's TAC. Throws TAC for a loop. Now TAC is looking out for you, so if it can't see, it slows you down. So there's some curves where I would go around them in 30 miles an hour if I was doing it manually. So the car itself can handle it, the driver can handle it, but the software can't handle it. Now, to be fair, it's probably more of a vision thing as opposed to the software going like, oh, I'm gonna get hurt if I go around the corner. So whatever. It's just one of those things. I'm sure the people who are behind me are going like, why is he slowing down so much? But, you know, as soon as I get around the curve, it speeds back up, so it's okay. It's just one of those things that'd be nice if it didn't have to so much. Okay, so this one's really kind of in between, but the wheel nag. I mean, you can have your hands on the wheel, and it'll still tell you to put your hands on the wheel. Now, usually it comes back and says, apply some turning force. Okay, fine. I get that. But, I mean, why is it that Chevy and Ford, their ADAS systems don't require your hands on the wheel? I don't know. I don't get that. Well, it's because Chevy and Ford aren't getting sued every 5 minutes because somebody got in an accident and thinks if they blame on autopilot or FSD, they'll get millions of dollars. When in fact they weren't in that mode and they just had an accident. But anyway, peace and harmony. Okay, with all that said, you might think, wow, Ray was being pretty negative. And my list has more negatives than positives on it, doesn't it? But the overall grade card is like a C plus or a B. The guys are giving it A. I don't know. I don't know how, but I know that the version they're running on is much more advanced than mine. As I said, mine's GA. So if you get FSD today and you go through the acceptance, you will have 11.3.6 when it downloads. Okay. I mean, it's just the way the software versions are right now. Is it good? Yes. It's actually pretty good. I mean, even my friend Ming, she tried it. Now, she's gone back saying, but I don't really want to try. I don't want to try it again until it's the production version. Okay, fine. But she used it. She drove with it. She didn't die. I didn't die. And her granddaughter didn't die. The big turkey. Anyway, whatever. Is it good? I would say FSD's pretty good for out on the highways. It's just the whole thing of wanting to be on the inside lane. I tell you, if you could take away that wanting to be on the inside lane all the time, I'd be much more positive about it. But that's just a minor nuisance. You know, every mile and a half or so, you have to click the turn signal to cancel. I mean, I definitely hope that sooner or later, Tesla figures out that chill mode means you want to chill, not that you want to be aggressive and push people off the road and block them behind your slower moving speed. Right? I mean, for those of you who are aggressive, oh, this is great, yeah. For those of you who are average, you might be going, well, it's just the way the car is. It's okay. So for people like me who want to be chill, it's like, why is the car doing this? I told him not to do it, and he's still doing it. Okay, almost to the point where, why am I doing this? I need a different solution. But anyway, whatever. The beauty of all this is it's software, or most of it's software. So over time, it's going to be finer tuned and better prepared. So it's just a question of time. Now, some of you might have the question of, well, what about hardware 3 versus hardware 4? What's hardware 3? Okay, so my 2020 Tesla and my Model 3 and my 2022 Model Y both have what are called hardware 3. Hardware 3 is basically a whole series of cameras and a certain level of hardware that processes FSD. Hardware 4 increases the resolution of those cameras greatly. If you wait 6 months, the question of hardware 3, hardware 4 goes away if you're buying new. Okay, I'm just throwing out 6 months. I don't know what the timeline is exactly, but Model S, Model X already have hardware 4. Model 3 and Y, some of them coming off the line now have it, but nobody seems to be sure exactly what the criteria is. So if you wait a little bit longer, you will have hardware 4, almost certainly. Hardware 4 should improve the car's vision, which should therefore lead to better decisions. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you want a Tesla now, you shouldn't buy it. I mean, you'll still have FSD with hardware 3. At least that's what they're saying for now. I don't know if that means they got to take a branch when they get further along. I don't know what that all means. But my Model 3 is hardware 3. And it does have FSD. So in theory, when they come up with Robotaxi, my Model 3 is capable of doing Robotaxi. Now, do I really want to do that? I don't know. The idea of having other people drive my car or ride in my car is not something I'm real excited about, but who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? Anyway, overall, if you're willing to put up with a few glitches, FSD is great. Now, like I said, there are glitches. You have to be willing to tolerate that. And my viewpoint is, Elon has basically promised that someday FSD will be worth much more than just $15,000 or $200 a month, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, in my case, I bought my car used. It came with FSD. I paid, let's say, $3,000-$4,000 basically for FSD. I mean, that's the difference. Now, if you were to say my car is only worth $25,000, then yes, I paid $15,000 for FSD. But the idea that you'd be able to buy this car for $25,000 is kind of ludicrous. And the other cars I looked at that are around this age, this mileage, they were around 38, 39. So that's why I basically look at it as I paid $3,000 or $4,000 for FSD. So, great bargain. Now, it is a used car. It has some used car issues. But if this is something you want to do, it may be a reasonable way to go about it. Anyway, whatever. Peace and harmony. Hopefully it all works out. I'm looking forward to the day when I get a more full-blown FSD on this car. That'll be pretty exciting. And I'm looking forward to taking this car on a trip up to Boston area just to see how it works. Because my estimation is I can do 70-80% of that trip on FSD. We'll see how it goes.